There were tons of toxic and unforgettable moments that went down thanks to the parents of Gossip Girl. Here's a roundup of 15 moments that might make you question if any of these parents should have been raising kids in the first place. And just a heads up, these go from bad to worse. Eleanor Waldorf encouraging unhealthy beauty standards in Blair Waldorf. At the very start of Gossip Girl, it was revealed that Eleanor was the type of mother who made her daughter Blair feel super insecure about her physical appearance. Blair struggles with eating disorder symptoms and barely ever eats more than a couple pieces of fruit every time Dorota serves her meals throughout the rest of the series. Lily Vander Woodson's reaction to Eric Vander Woodson coming out of the closet. Lily had a terrible reaction when she first found out Eric was gay. She was completely in denial and didn't want to accept it as the truth. Eric was already struggling emotionally, and the fact that he attempted to end his own life is proof enough of that. Lily tried to make it up to him later, but her initial reaction was just shameful. Anne Archibald blaming Nate Archibald for Howard Archibald's drugs. Anne knew her husband Howard was a ball of chaotic energy, but when she discovered a baggie of illegal substances in her home, she immediately thought it made sense to blame her son Nate. Nate was left feeling betrayed by his own lying father and wrongly accused by his own dim-witted mother. Cece Rhodes manipulating Lily Vander Woodson with trust fund threats. Cece knew she wanted to have full control of her daughters and their love lives, and the easiest way to make that happen was by threatening to take away their trust funds. She used the threat of financial losses to keep Lily away from Rufus Humphrey when they were young and in love. Gabriella Abrams judging Vanessa Abrams for attending college. Gabriella was the worst because she tried to make her daughter Vanessa feel badly for wanting to pursue higher education. Vanessa wanted her mom to be proud of her, but her mom spent a bunch of time making her feel ashamed for enrolling in a college university. Harold Waldorf cheating on Blair Waldorf's mother and moving far away. Harold cheated on Blair's mom, Eleanor, with a man. His infidelity blew up Blair's whole world. She had her father on a pedestal, but all of that went down the drain in an instant. His choice to cheat with a man wasn't the problem. It's the fact that he cheated in the first place that's an issue. Plus, he moved far away after it all happened, and that left Blair feeling rejected, unwanted, and unloved by him for a stretch of time. William Vander Woodson abandoning Serena and Eric Vander Woodson. William dipped on his fatherly duties and didn't stick around to raise Serena and Eric by Lily's side. His abandonment of his kids left them with terrible emotional scars until he tried to resurface in their lives. Eric's self-unaliving attempt and Serena's constant need for male validation and attention both track when you think about the way their dad thoughtlessly left them. Allison Humphrey abandoning Dan and Jenny Humphrey. Allison was supposed to be there for Dan and Jenny as their mother, but she was busy frolicking around Hudson with her new boyfriend instead. Dan and Jenny were witnesses to their father's heartbreak when he was going through divorce proceedings with Allison. Lily Vander Woodson getting Serena Vander Woodson arrested for theft. Lily didn't like it when she saw that Serena was trying to handle the Poppy Lifton embezzlement fiasco. She called the cops and reported a piece of jewelry she gifted Serena as stolen, so the cops would arrest Serena. It was beyond ridiculous. Elizabeth Fisher lying to Chuck Bass by pretending to be dead for most of his life. Chuck's birth mother, Elizabeth, had him at the young age of 19 and came up with an agreement to lie about her own death so she could evade parental stressors. Bart Bass obviously went along with the lie, but it was Elizabeth's idea to do it. Chuck grew up convinced that he killed his own mother in childbirth, even though she was alive the whole time. Talk about cruel. Rufus Humphrey trying to block Jenny Humphrey's fashion career. Rufus was a terrible father to Jenny because he continually tried to prevent her from succeeding in the fashion industry, even though he knew very well how talented she was. It's almost as if he was jealous of his own daughter. After all, he wasn't able to pursue his music career because he started having kids at a young age. Bart Bass faking his own death, sending Chuck Bass into an emotional spiral. Chuck never felt loved or respected by his father, but that didn't mean he was going to feel fine and dandy about his father's death. Chuck went down on a super sad and dark spiral after Bart faked his own death. It was crushing to watch. Carol Rhodes lied about the identity of Lola Rhodes' father. Carol's worst parenting moment was a massive one because she lied about Lola's father for Lola's entire life. Lola's dad was William Vander Woodson, which means Carol was hooking up with William behind Lily's back. She turned Lola, Serena, and Eric into half-sibling cousins. Rufus Humphrey hooking up with Dan Humphrey's ex, Ivy Dickens. The most messed up thing Rufus did to Dan? He started dating and hooking up with a young woman who was not only the same age as his kids, but also who briefly dated his son, Dan. Ivy and Dan were definitely into each other for a bit before breaking things off. The fact that Rufus later got sexually involved with her was jarring. Howard Archibald punching Nate Archibald in the face. Howard was a drug addict who got caught for fraud and embezzlement in the workplace. He also tried to convince his family to sneak out of the country with him to live illegally so he could evade the law. But none of that was as bad as the moment he punched Nate in the face. That moment of physical abuse was something Nate did not deserve. Lily Vander Woodson giving up Scott Rawson for adoption without telling Rufus Humphrey. Lily was wilding out when she secretly gave birth to a son she shared with Rufus, yet never said a word to Rufus about him. She gave the kid up for adoption and didn't tell Rufus the truth about it until about 20 years later. Her actions were just out of control. Bart Bass trying to kill Chuck Bass. The worst and most toxic parenting moment of all time on Gossip Girl occurred between Bart and Chuck, of course. Bart tried to kill Chuck on a hotel rooftop, and he truly proved how evil he was in that moment. Ultimately, Bart is the one who fell to his death, but the fact that he tried to end his own son's life has us shook. Which of these toxic parenting fails on Gossip Girl was the absolute worst to you? Let us know in the comments section.